This is the Levels Network. I'm Justin Horo, joined by the Triple OG, Willie Mason, and Willie. This is the last episode of the year, brother.
Yeah,
we
good.
did it. It was. I'd firstly just want to thank obviously Tab and Body Science that have been with us from the very first episode. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them, and we're excited to be rolling with them again next year. But one of those partners, the Tab, they looked after us on the weekend.
Yeah, it was great.
We went down. We did Derby Day. You stayed a little bit longer. Yeah. It was a rough day for the punters. We know that, and for our kiddies. We didn't go.
No one won. No one won.
I don't know anyone that won.
Not big.
There was obviously the big race without a fight gets the job done after getting the job done in the Caulfield Cup, but still a great weekend rather. And you stayed a little bit longer. And
yeah, I was there till Tuesday. So I got home yesterday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
How was the Melbourne Cup? Good?
It was good, yeah.
Yeah.
I was with Matty Hill, his joint, IPE.
Okay.
So I was on the inside rail. It wasn't in the birdcage what we were on Melbourne Cup. On the finishing post on the inside.
Oh,
I've never raced it. I've never watched it there. So we went out looking at the stadium. All the stadiums. It was mad.
I think I know what you're talking about. I did it for Derby Day
right?
one.
Yeah,
Derby Day
unreal.
1 year, but on the outside of like one of the main tents.
Yeah, it's mad. It was good. Like we saw the horses race past. It was crazy.
Yep. All right. We'll just again want to thank Tab for the weekend. All the teams, specifically, Belza, who's been doing work with us all year, but Hayley, she basically runs Sky and the Tab, and we didn't want for anything while we're down there. We got some pretty cool content, close to riding a few winners, but not to be. Because this is the last episode, we just want to remind everyone, levelsnetwork.com.au, that's where you can find our collection for this year. It's the caps that we brought out. But we want to let everyone know in a couple of weeks we'll be having a Black Friday deal. There'll be free postage. So what we want you to do is keep an eye out on Instagram and levelsnetwork.com.au. So maybe you can bundle up the hats, buy a couple of hats for the fam coming up for Christmas, Mace. Yeah. And remember, we'll chuck a few of the hoodies that are left in some of the sizes that we've got left. So go and jump on levelsnetwork.com.au and keep an eye on Instagram around Black Friday. Just for everyone that's been going with us all year, we're looking for 20K. We got to 19.7 Mace on YouTube. Still a great year.
Yeah, it's huge.
Really thankful for everyone that's either followed us on Instagram, subscribed, Apple, Spotify, left a review. It's all progressed and got us to the point where we are now, and I've really enjoyed.
How many weeks have we done? Was it 30? Was it 38 or?
So we got first week of the final. So yeah, it'd be
40.
It'd be a little
40
bit,
weeks.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit longer than that. And by the way, we'll be back in January as well. When we get back at probably the first or second week of January, we'll have a bit of a break now until then, and we'll do a proper review of all the teams, previewing the seasons, breaking it all down, rolling into trials, rolling into Vegas, and there'll be so much to talk about. Mace, just before we get into the show, also, last thing, massive shout out to Ben Vincent and the crew, the Grateful Eight, I'm going to call them, Mace, for our Levels Run Club. We got 670 members in there, and we were away, but we still had 8 of the boys turn up.
That was great.
And get the run done. So shows that we're building something special there, and looking forward to getting back down there on Saturday this week, and we'll be rolling all the way into Christmas. We'll probably have like Christmas, New Year off, but we'll be going. I'll be there 100% every Saturday. So, Mace, Body Science, our partners, Body Science.
Yeah.
Dog of the week. Who was your dog of the year?
There was you went asked the questions like earlier today, and I'm like, I couldn't think of one really. It was like a little dog that personifies like a dog of the year. Like Ruben Cotter was down.
Yep.
Because I'd usually go for someone like that.
Because he's our dog of all dogs.
Yeah,
right?
he's the king. But
from the year before, he would have been epitomised like what we thought about the dog. But you're right, he had a few little niggling injuries.
He had a good year, but he just didn't have a great year. Like he ended up finishing in the Australian team. So if that's a down year for a kid like that.
And he got the Wally Lewis medal too.
It's like, but it's still down on the year before. That's how much of a dog he was the year before, don't you think?
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
I'm like, he had a great year. I mean, good year, but I'm like, I don't know. I didn't see it. So I think this guy out at Penrith personifies that as well. I think he brings a lot on the field and off the field. So it's like the way that he's a spiritual leader. So I'm going to go with Big James Fisher-Harris. I think he gets all the massive raps as the Fanua Blake's up there now. I think he's overpassed him.
Yep.
And then you look at Payne Haas. you know, Flegler, all these sort of
Tino.
blokes they're talking about him before this guy. This guy's won 3 premierships. Just took the New Zealanders to a Pacific Cup. His resume, I think I'd have his resume rather than those other blokes.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Like when you talk when you talk about the dog, like when we rattle off stats, but really it shouldn't be about stats. Like dog of the week for us is generally people that just get in and do all the shitty work.
Yeah,
and
that's him.
I think he is the best example of a guy that does all the 1%ers that we always talk about. He always takes the toughest carries. He always gets kick pressure for big guys. For a lot of people, like I know a lot of the other players, like the Tinos and that, they do all this as well. But so many of those selfless acts and the culture that's been built out of Penrith. I'm not inside those 4 walls, but
apparently he's that dude out there.
Your relationship with Cireldo and Cireldo, Cam Cireldo said he's the guy that drives all the standards, and you can see that in a guy like Moses Leota as well. Yeah,
it'd be rubbing off on him, but
for sure. Because I remember when Moses Leota was coming through, being from Western Sydney myself, like I seen Moses play like SG ball and that, and the knock on him early was whether because he went away and had to grind to get back into first grade and whatnot, and the knock on him was. Engine, all the little things. He always had the big tough carry in him. He could belt people, but when you've got a leader like James Fisher-Harris involved, I think it really sets the tone for everyone else that comes.
You're spot on there without even being there. And I think people just get carried away with the 18, 19 hit ups, 260 meters, all that kind of stuff. Big minutes, and it's like you're doing all those little things. Some of these props aren't doing those little things that he does.
Yeah,
because they're ripping off. They're getting all the kickoffs, right? So you get about just say 4, 5, 6 kickoffs, dropouts, all that kind of stuff. There's 100 meters there without any contact at all.
Yeah,
you rip it through the middle. Sorry, you rip it through the middle, 15 hit ups, 15 whatever, and get 140 meters, but they're all off the 9.
Yeah.
They're fucking hard meters, man.
I'll admit that I've got carried away with stats a little bit more this year, for sure. I reckon now that we've been doing it more in depth, watching all the games, go back, reinforce what you thought about the game.
Where you get your meters. That's
very
important.
Exactly. That's super important. And those things are still great, and the players that can rack them up. But, I think he just epitomises what we
we've seen a big dog, big dog.
Yeah, he is the epitome of a dog. Yeah. Another guy, for me, we talked about Queensland before he made his debut this year. I thought he was outstanding in a number of games. I feel like I would have voted for him at least. He would have got about at least a minimum of 2, maybe even 3 Dog of the Weeks. I think early on in the year, I purposely didn't vote him for Dog of the Week because he'd already got it earlier in the year.
Coming off the bench as well.
One
start.
point.
Didn't have a good start.
Yeah, you're right. Until he solidified that lock spot.
Yeah.
Corey Horsburgh.
The bra.
I think when you look at him, and what he done and the way he's taken his game to another level, it hasn't been by flashy, the same things we're talking about with Fisher-Harris. It wasn't racking up a shitload of stats. It was doing kick chases. It was putting pressure on Adam Reynolds in that game against the Broncos or sweeping in behind and making tackles that, you just didn't expect him to make on the last tackle against the Broncos. And, I thought for sure he had a great season. He looks like he's a real linchpin now for Canberra Raiders moving forward and driving that culture, because they've got a couple of, Elliot Whitehead's getting a little bit older. Yeah. Josh Hodgson was that guy for a long time before he went to Parramatta. Josh Papali'i's getting the end of his career. So it's going to be Joseph Tarpana, Corey Horsburgh, and Hudson Young to take that next step and leadership in that pack. And that's why, these Canberra teams, they're always so hard to beat players like that in Canberra.
It'd be annoying.
What about a moment, mate? Is there anything in particular that stands out on the season that sort of you think, fuck, that's as good as it gets for rugby league or for us at levels? Or
everyone I spoke to just who didn't even like rugby league down in Melbourne, right? They just brought up the grand final, that moment, just that last 18 minutes, the finish, the ending. Like everyone there, I was with Ian Botham, the great beefy Botham on Melbourne Cup, Derm Brereton. We're just sitting around there, how fucking good is rugby league? Yeah. Bring out, we could have the worst fucking year of all time off the field and all these other drums, and you rip something like that out.
You're right.
And everyone just goes, that's the shit. Even AFL, they thought they had one of their greatest grand finals.
That was a great grand final.
And then just gets trumped
the
by
next day we had a really good grand final.
Yeah, it was And to share that moment, all of us there.
Yep.
You know, it was that was fucking amazing. That's
That's
one of the
true.
best moments that I saw, actually.
That's
My
true.
eyes, like, usually I watch it on TV. You don't really, they're like riding the whole roller coaster. We saw Gordy. We saw all these guys. Everyone's going crazy. Appy's going there. Like, imagine the emotional roller coaster they're going through.
Yeah.
And we're like just watching this shit going, how good's this game?
That's so true.
So I'm just like, yeah, just that moment. I was like, I don't think I've had a better moment in rugby league, fucking ever.
Yeah.
That I'm watching, that I really cared about.
That's so funny because I'm with you, and that was for what we do, right? Because this is obviously a job as well. Like this is levels. We enjoy doing it. We're very lucky to be doing it. But sometimes, end of the year, you can get to the end of the year going, especially if a team doesn't match up with another team, because that's happened before in grand finals where you're like,
for sure,
the best teams aren't in the grand final.
Last year,
one might have, one might have fell away, or for whatever. Both teams were fully fit,
full rosters too.
Full rosters. They were the two best teams clearly, and the grand final actually lived up to the hype.
Yeah, it was only fitting, wasn't it?
Like, if Broncos had gone and kicked away, I would have been pumped for the Broncos. It would have been a great, still would have been a cool grand final.
Yeah, you
cool
won 2 in a row. It's all good.
But it would have been like, man, like you're right. People from AFL cricket would have watched it and gone,
crosses over.
Oh, yeah, it was all right. Grand final. Broncos are just fucking really good because they don't watch the rest of the year, right? They don't realise how good Penrith have been.
If Penrith won 3, Penrith are dominant. The league's boring.
But it's the fashion in which the game played out. Because you're right. Like the rest of the year could be complete shit. Yeah. But when everyone's viewing and watching our game, it's for 2 occasions. Well, 4 games in total.
Yeah.
They're watching Origin, all the AFL, all the cricketers, all the other sportsmen, and they're watching the grand final, just like we watch the AFL grand final. So what a time to put it on. My moment, and it coincides with the ride of the Warriors, was our trip to New Zealand. We got 97,000 views on that vlog from going away. Just the energy in New Zealand for everything that they'd been through, the sacrifices they'd make to go on that run. Shawnee's playing the type of footy that, should have won him a Daily M or was competing with KP for a Daily M and went all the way down to the wire. It was just good to be back home. I hadn't been back home in forever as well. So going back to New Zealand, again, like you talked about with Gordy and Uppy, just mixing and mingling with the old boys after the game on Old Boys Day.
It coincided with Old Boys Day.
Yep.
We walked in there, we got the whole tour. Jacko showed us, and it was madness. Like the crowd, how much energy they show, like how much love they got for the Warriors. It's great, man. They had a great year. Yep. That moment was great as well.
Yeah. All right, so those are our 2 special moments. Let us know levels if there's some stuff that it doesn't have to be levels related. It can just be footy related. Your favourite moments. Let us know in the comments, and obviously this is the last episode, but I'll be replying on YouTube still. So here's a couple of our YouTube questions for this week. This one's more of a statement, and I found this quite interesting. Now, sometimes stats just play out, and you don't realise, and it's not really an indication on either player, but it's just funny how it plays out. Jerome Luai's win rate without Cleary, he's won 18 from 20 games. Whereas for Cleary without Luai, they've played 13 games without Luai. How many games do you reckon Nace won?
Oh, he should have won at least 10, but I reckon
6.
it's
6. So it's just funny how stats like that play out a little bit. It's not diminishing Nathan. It's not like putting Luai on this crazy pedestal, but it's funny how combinations matter. Yeah. I think that's a really important thing. And for whatever reason, Luai has been able to combine better without Nath. There's sometimes I think the psyche comes into a stat like that, like when your best player's out, and if it's only for a short period of time, like 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
4 to 5 weeks, Nath does his groin or he gets suspended. You can lock in and go, boys, let's fucking rip in. We can get this done without Nath. But if he's out for an entire season, that'd be different.
Think both times where Cleary's been out was with a suspension and an injury, like 6 and 6, was it?
Yeah, I think
last
he
couple
had.
of years, would that be?
Did he have the high tackle? What was his? The year before, he missed the last 4 or 5 games of the season against Parramatta for doing, I think, spear tackle, Dill Brown. And then he did his groin after Origin 1 and missed the 5 or 6 weeks after that.
Yeah.
But it just shows the greatness of not only Luai, but that
when's he going to make that decision, Luai, you reckon? Just right.
Yeah.
When do they come back to training next? Late December, early June.
Yeah, I'd say because he wasn't involved in any of the rep footy. I'd say early December.
I know everyone else is coming back next Monday.
Yeah, I think some of the teams are going back. So like all the like outside of the fringe of the top 30 squad, some of the teams are going back. Yeah, Gold Coast, Bulldogs, Tigers, a few teams have gone back. But I dare say, I think I seen something where they said Jerome is actually enjoying this process of going through all the conversations and letting his media take care, his management take care of it. So
interesting.
That one is from Sabrini 5055. This one's from Preston Franklin. Question: if you and Scope spelled with SKOPE and Widemu, both got offered jobs as leading chairman in the NRL, making all the big calls and shit about the game, are you taking the jobs or continuing what you do? I reckon you have good insight and knowledge for the game and interest in hearing your takes. Preston, we're not doing that. Fuck that. Mace, if there was one thing, if you got put into a role and NRL come to you and said, if there's one thing you'd change, what's one thing that you'd like to implement in the game that you think...
Into the game?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's a big question. They've already cleared all the salary cap and everything up. Everything's pretty fair there. So I think he's done a good job. It's got to be the international game.
Yeah.
Somewhere, just clean that up. I know you got some good thoughts on that soon. So
for sure.
Coming up. But I'd love to hear those. But I think we really need to capitalise on the international game.
Yeah.
We just sort of let it slip all the time. There needs to be some sort of, I don't know, just a better blueprint.
For sure. There's a buy-in. I've got a little bit later on. That's my answer as well. Yeah. We'll hit that at the end of the episode. So hang in there. We're going to talk about all the games. We've got Aussie obviously getting pumped by the Kiwis 30-0. We've got we've got the Kummels versus the Batsy as well, and the Poms 26-4 against the Tuckos. So we'll go through all that. This one is from Wilso Dog. This one's from Riley. He's the OG. Levels Run Club member who's been to everyone. G'day, lads.
He's a good kid.
Day one L1 and day one Run Clubber. Question: do you think an average halfback with a great pack is better than a great halfback with an average pack? Bit of an unpopular opinion. Love the potty, love the Run Club, seeing Triple OG and Lukey get amongst it every weekend is the highlight of my week. Appreciate the question, Riley. We'll see you down there on Saturday, brother. I know you'll be there, but what are you going with, Mace?
What's an average? Give me an average halfback, but.
All right, I'd say...
in today's game.
All right, so let's work our way to him. Yeah.
Sexton?
Yes, Sullivan.
Your average, played 50 games, you're definitely in the team every week, or you're up and down, have you been through?
I'd say...
you're a 100-gamer, and that's average.
This is respectfully, of course. I'd say the median would be guys like Fogarty, Hastings, like those sorts of players.
Well, then give me the average halfback with a gun forward pack.
Okay. Yeah, because you
steer if a game manager's an average halfback.
Yeah.
Like Adam Reynolds is a game manager.
Yeah, even a highlighted version that would be Chad Townsend. Chad Townsend, Fogarty. So if you had Chad, like those guys are on really good halfbacks, they've been on good money or whatever. Yeah. But you could get away with I think that's the prime example. I think what Chad's done at the Cowboys, being a really solid halfback for a long time. Yeah. He'd be in the middle. No one would ever say he's going to be the top halfback. No one would ever say he's the worst halfback in the competition. But he's got a really good pack. He's got Jason Tomolo, he's got Jeremiah Nanai, he's got Ruben Cotter, Griffin Neems exploding now onto the scene. I think that'd be the perfect example. And if you look at probably an average pack with an elite halfback, I don't think you get them, do you? Because you end up...
halfbacks are smart too.
Because I think the perfect example of that, and this is previous to this year because they've had a good pack this year, Tigers, but the years that Brooks has been at the Tigers and the potential that he had to be, I honestly believe that he had traits to develop into a top tier halfback. Now, whether he would have got there,
Moses,
whether he would have got there, who knows? But I don't think he had the help in his roster early on in his career. Probably not early on. He probably had more help earlier on, but then he went through a period where they just had this changeover and no consistency in the forward pack, and it's really diminished his progression. Yeah. So
give me a Chad Townsend.
Has there ever been an elite halfback that you can remember that was in an awful pack that did well?
Well, you got to have a think. Just look at Joey's career, Noddy, Kamali's career, JT, Craig Gower. they've all had fucking gun packs.
Do you think they've...
Joey was just, JT, they were just outstanding. Like, they're just another level. But like...
Do you reckon that, but were there ever times when you look back at it now, like, did maybe Joey's greatness sort of blind us from some of the limitations that some of those people in that
Well, you can just see every time
had?
Joey's out and what happened in Newcastle in the early 2000s.
There you go. That's
as soon as Joey's out, it's a write-off.
Steve Simpson, weapon.
Yeah.
Right. He was
Billy
part of it.
Peden, BK, Matt Parsons.
Gun. But for whatever reason, when Joey was out...
He just held that much influence in the team. Because it ain't like a halfback who just attacks on the right side.
Yeah.
He attacks both sides of the ruck everywhere. All your weaknesses gets exploited. And those guys just fucking mad lines on the edge. Look what they did to Jason Taylor in 2001 Grand Final. Destroyed Parramatta and him.
Yeah, in
just
a half.
exploited
half
him in a half. Done. Game over.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. So I don't know. And no taking away from that Newcastle pack. They were good. They just didn't have massive names. But they were. I bet he wouldn't swap any of them for anyone.
100%.
But the stats are, when he was done, Newcastle was done.
Yeah. Well, that year did they lost? They were like wooden spoon at the. Was it his last year before he got injured and he ended up coming back?
2007.
Yeah. All right. Good question. I think for sure you can get away with a game managing halfback with a sick pack.
Well, look at JT 2005.
Yep.
Forward pack for North Queensland. I bet you can't name any of them.
Shit. Yeah. All right. So I'll know a couple of them.
Yeah, you would know their names. I'm saying you're not going bang. First of all, they didn't win.
Porahi,
Travis Norton,
Shane Tronk,
Stevie Southern, Tronky.
Yeah.
I think that's their starting pack.
They were just
Aaron Payne. Yeah, but you're not going household names.
Yeah,
Unless you know the game like you know the game.
They were average.
You ask the average 30-year-old.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know any of them.
Yeah. You're right. That's a good point.
Kevin Campion.
They're like, as in their proper average level plus, just a little bit better.
But they all had career years.
Right? Okay.
The Stevie Southern, Luke O'Donnell's.
Yeah.
Big Shane Tronk. Paul Rahihi was a gun back. 05, he was one of the best props in the game.
Yeah.
Kevin Campion, Travis Norton. Yeah. In my eyes, gun pack.
Yeah, they did have some.
Yeah, they're good players, man. I've been playing Origin, that they just weren't superstar players at that time.
Yeah. This one's from Barry Matthews. What's up? So we've got 3 different questions here. One is, how soon do the average NRL players want to sign? Are they happy waiting till next year before being signed to a team for 2025? I'll speak on behalf of the average NRL player because that was my career. I reckon it's a little bit later. So if you're referring to November 1 just become available, so what happens during that period? All the teams... Actually, let's start... No. So we'll start down the bottom for the clubs. So the third question is relative to what we'll build into it. So how quickly do clubs want their 2025 rosters locked in? Are they happy to get their key player positions filled, then sort out the battlers close to 2025? Thanks, guys. So first question, clubs are trying to identify their best players right now, aren't they, Mace?
They're trying to get that. Perfect example is Luai right now.
Yeah.
Superstar player.
Luai, Dearden, Joey Manu.
But even just say what Penrith are trying to do, trying to get the Mitch Kennys, trying to get all these other guys done. They've already tried with Luai. So this is like, what do you do? What would you do if you're Luai? You're just going to wait probably till the end of 2004 to even make a decision, because I don't think he's going to... Yeah, maybe. Back himself. His money's never going to go down now. Even if he blows his ACL out. Touch wood, he doesn't. But I just don't think it will, because the market's set on halves like him.
Yeah.
And it's going to be massive. It'll go in Penrith's favour if he does have an injury.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, he'd be like, fuck.
So that's why if I was him, I'd be looking. So the second question is...
there's a lot of fucking things there. You could come out, you could kill the whole year. I don't know what I'll do in his position. If you're hell set on going, I think in his position right now at Penrith and where he sits with everyone, they would go, shake hands, well done.
So what about if you're another club and you're trying to get Luai there? You want to get that done as soon as possible.
ASAP. Yeah. So it's so different. So Penrith are like, we could wait. Tigers, everyone else are like, get it now so they can announce it for sponsors and all that shit. That's when it becomes a business.
Correct.
Right? So it's like, And
then you can start
you're Luai, you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Sit back, enjoy the preseason, have a break, get back into footy. Make a decision whenever you want, not on anyone else's watch.
Because you've got to get it done now. So just say you are one of those teams like Tigers, Dragons, you're going for Luai. You miss out on Luai. Your second option might be Tommy Dearden. So then you've got to mix and start. I'd imagine all 3 of those bottom-ranked teams, like specifically the Tigers and the Dragons, who are looking for some depth in the halves, would be going after all three of Ezra Mam, Dearden,
Yes.
and Luai, and it would honestly be they'd probably all have their preference out of the three for sure, but they'd be tabling offers to all three of them until the management come back and go, actually, Jerome's keen on Tigers, or Jerome's keen on the Dragons, or Jerome's, whatever it may be. And then if the management then comes back and they get information, the clubs get information that the management are leaning going, Tommy Dearden might leave the Cowboys. Like the offer's not that good. Like we're a genuine chance.
Yeah.
Then the club just goes and focuses all their energy into one of those playmakers because after that's done, then you can get to players like myself, average NRL players. That's when you can start to build it out. And for myself, as an average NRL player, it just wasn't up to us. The luxury, it wasn't like, I'd love to get it done early in the year. The clubs would never, and the system was a little bit different. Just say it was the old June 30. The clubs would never start talking to players like myself until they'd knocked off their Luais, until they'd knocked off their Joey Manus, until they'd knocked off their Hylam Lukis. Like, so not even my position, but like top tier players. And then once they get that, then they can look at the roster and go, all right, we've just allocated $1.2 million for Jerome Luai at the Tigers. Now, where does that leave our cap in the rest of the team? And then they can start going, all right,
Bang out three.
We've got 1.2, and we've got to fit that into three players. How do we do that? All right, now let's start filtering down to the average and the middle tier players. All right. So sometimes they might even start at their floor, and they target a player like myself and go, well, maybe we can get him for 150. Yeah. So instead of going 3 times 400, they go, well, if we can get Horo for 150 or 200, then we can add another 200 and get like another level of player. So that's, I think, how I hope that answered your question. To answer
his question, the superstar players sign whenever they want.
Yes.
That's it.
They dictate.
They dictate what they're doing. They need to be honest with their management. They like to be courted, right? And then it's just like, you get a little bit of a feel. If you want to test the open market, Luai's got to test the open market.
Yeah.
Be silly if he's going to leave millions of dollars on the table.
So to sum it up, the superstars have all the power. They dictate when they want to sign, basically now, with the clubs, and then off the back of that, the clubs are able to figure out who they want to sign off the top of it with regards to all the other NRL players. Speaking of the elite of the elite, Kiwis defeated the Australia 30-0, Mace.
Good segue.
I got let me just get the
30-0. I'm still not over it.
30-0.
Shocked.
I've got I just wrote down some notes. So obviously, massive shout out. If we're doing Dog of the Week, for sure, it's Chance Nickel Clockstats right up there. He had a great series. He had 30 runs for 277 metres, Mace.
Does he know that RTS is here?
Grab your arm.
Does he know? Does he feel RTS is present? He's like, you're not playing fullback, mate.
Yeah.
Go back in the front line.
He's going to be playing centres for the Warriors, and now he's trying to force or look even next year, right? If you speaking of Roger, Chance Nickel Clockstat was fullback, and he's had a great season at the Warriors, and apparently he's the front runner. Webster has told Chance that he'll get first. It's his job to lose, basically. You know, Roger's going to play centres. You got Joey Manu in the centres, and Matty Timokal was probably our best in. Yeah,
he was a beast
in the last 2 games as well in the centres.
But he ain't playing wing.
Maybe Rog plays wing.
Fucking Mulatalo. He's got something to say about that.
Yeah. So does Asako had a career best year as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Consistency, right?
But speaking of outside backs, mate, how about this for a stat? Every outside back, and this is almost like the Penrith Panthers blueprint that we talk about week in, week out. Every outside back for the Kiwis had over 100 metres. You know the least amount? Joey Manu, and Joey Manu had 129.
You're kidding me.
He was the least. So
Chance at all that. Those little things like that, the stats. So and have a look at their middles. Joey Tarpanay ran 192 metres.
Yep.
I think one of our, Payne Haas maybe 100.
I think,
and he would have taken a couple of kickoffs, same as Carrigan.
I think they struggled to make 100 across the board, but those are one of the things when you look at the stats, it sort of just reinforces what you thought about the game when you do see those. So Payne Haas just 100 right on the dot. Liam Martin 106, Yowie 116, but fucking Lindsay Collins 60,
nothing off the bench.
Paddy Carrigan 32, Ruben Cotter 63, Tino 91. It is honestly it's the recipe for success in the modern day game. You load up on your outside backs, if you've got a strong back, if I was constructed in a team right now, you want guys with skill and if you've got the luxury of being able to develop them, and
you're talking outside backs,
and they've got that nice skill set, but just give me a couple of wingers that just carry the ball and get you on the front foot every time. Like you want. Obviously, a fullback that's super fit and that communicates, like a Dylan Edwards model, like a Teddy model, like even a Kalen model. Like he's a really good defensive fullback as well, but he just doesn't get the credit for it because he's so flary and he's more of he's got a little bit more in his game. But really, defensively, he does such a good job, and he's good at linking with his wingers at Newcastle, like Dom Young and Greg Marzhew, that run 200 metres every game.
That's where Penrith are really good. Dylan Edwards at the back, right? Runs 280 metres a game. I'm not putting him on the wing for the Australian team. He's fucking playing. He plays fullback every week. Put Val Holmes on the wing.
Well, that
put Gags, get someone in there who's done the job for Australia before. Give me 180 metres.
Yeah.
Like just those tough players don't give a shit. Dylan Edwards is tough, but he ain't got leg speed and all that sort of shit. Ain't it. He gets picked up a lot, dragged back, left arm carry coming out the left side of the field. It's fucking unorthodox.
Yeah,
And New Zealand just game plan for that shit.
I can't remember Dylan Edwards ever playing anything but fullback.
It's like putting Luke Patton on the wing for Australia.
Yeah.
It's like he just doesn't fucking do it. He can do it, but he's not a gun at it.
Yeah, it was a good reward for him, I think, making the Australian team. But I reckon he got exposed.
He did.
He got
Same
exposed.
as Nico Hines. Those blokes comes off as a 9, gets exploited in the middle, mate.
Yeah.
A couple of times. He's not a good defender.
You either got to play him. Well, he's not used to defending in the middle.
No, not in the
That's
middle,
the
mate. He's on an edge.
Yeah.
You can take your time when there's fucking Griffith Neiman that just late footwork at you, get exposed at 3-man.
Yep.
Fuck, mate. You got to put these guys that are experienced dudes. You know, like it was harsh. It was hard watching it. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Guys are way out of their depth. Don't disrespect New Zealand like that. They'll come at you and fucking pump you. Been in that position before.
I've got plenty of notes, and we'll get to this. This is what Greg Alexander said post-game and doubled down on it. The Aussies looked like they didn't care. And it's a strong statement, and I disagree with this, and this is why. I think because Origin can distract people from the fact that New Zealand are not playing any games during that time. And in the last 10 years, we've got to the point now with the Kiwis where let's go top to bottom, right? Chance Nickel-Klogstad had a great year at the Warriors. He's probably not a top 5 fullback, but
there's some gun fullbacks around.
He's close to it. And a couple of years ago, if he doubles down on this year like he did at the Raiders for a couple of years, he puts himself right back in that conversation, right? I agree. Jermaine Asako, top point scorer, top try scorer in the competition this year. In the 13th best team in the competition. So he's an elite winger. He's going to put himself back into that mold. Joey Manu, best centre in the competition. If you played him at fullback, he'd probably be top 3. If you played him at 6, he'd probably be top 3 as well. Jerome Hughes. Let's use Origin as an example for all these players, right? So Manu.
That's what I was doing.
Joey Manu would make both Queensland and New South Wales anywhere in whatever position they needed him to. Jerome Hughes would put pressure on Ches for Queensland for sure, and he'd put pressure on Jerome Luai for 6 for New South Wales if he was available. Same would be for Dylan Brown for New South Wales. Jerome Hughes is a top 3 halfback. Dylan Brown is top 2. Top 2 sixes in the game, him and Munster.
Yeah.
Maybe Ezra Mam starting to get into the conversation. Then you go into the forward pack.
Definitely like top 5, all those players in every position.
Fisher Harris
top 3, top
and
5.
Leota would walk into either pack and might not start, but definitely be a part of it.
17 somewhere.
Joseph Tarpany. Tarpany, he's another guy. He's like Fisher Harris where because he plays for Canberra and you don't not the average NRL. If you're a diehard NRL fan, you're watching a lot of Canberra because you watch every game. But your casuals aren't really watching Canberra games. They're not, because Canberra are generally on at a pretty shitty time. They might be Saturday or Sunday afternoons when people are on the punt or watching something else. But Joseph Tarpany is fucking elite.
Top 3 lock in the game.
But we always forget about him. We always talk about
10. Yeah, exactly.
We always talk about Carrigan, Yeo, Cam Murray, Victor Radley. And I think he's also a victim of his versatility because he also plays front row and lock that sometimes he gets mixed up in between. But Joseph Tarpany would walk straight into it. I think Isaiah Papali'i, he had a rough year with the Tigers, but he's an elite back rower. Britton Nicholder's one of your favourite back rowers. The only position that I thought we were going to struggle at was 9 because we had the old boy Fozzie in there and we had Farmanu Brown, who has been a journeyman in the league for years, and he's got a nice role. He's plugged out a nice role at times, being a utility, but that was the one part that I was worried about because I wasn't worried about Leo Thompson and Griffin Neame, who, by the way, Griffin Neame is 22 and Leo Thompson's 23.
There's the future there.
That's the future of the pack, and then that's the future. I had a look into their contracts as well. They're both off contract at the end of 2024 as well, so they'll
Thompson's
have some.
Nice, I like him.
Yeah, I love Leo Thompson. I love Griffin Neame as well. That's the next gen of like the elite forwards that are coming through. But I think it's disrespectful to say that the Aussies didn't care. I just think
it's never that case. Never.
I just think the Kiwis fucking took it to them.
Yeah, they got ambushed. That's not even saying ambush. They just got fucking outplayed. Really bad reads on the edge. They care. You're playing for Australia. Brandy probably gets really passionate about it. It looks like they didn't care. I get it. But deep down, he knows every player cares.
Yeah, for sure. No,
it's just a good little clickbait thing.
Yeah. No, look, and he did. He said the impression was they looked like he didn't care. So he also corrected himself and said he didn't think they didn't care. It's just the impression that they gave because of how dominant the Kiwis were. But again, because like I said, with Origin, when everyone ever watches Origin,
break it down, I always break it down. Like, I'm like, how many Kiwis could play in the Origin arena? When I was playing against them, like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
and we're stacked through them.
Yep.
You know, so there's the difference. That's the difference in big games, as you lean on your Origin experience.
Yeah. When you've got 8 or 10,
when you've got 10 Kiwis
that could make either
pushing
team
through it.
Yeah. So,
especially in key positions.
Yeah.
There's never been like Stacey Jones. I thought could have played, but he played in an era where Joey and all those guys were really dominant.
Yep. Nigel Wagner could have played for sure.
Yeah. Roy Asatasi would have played. Sonny Bill would have played.
Ali Lautiti?
Ali, nah, probably not. I don't know. They would have. That was still hard-nosed footballers, man.
A few outside backs and that could have played as well.
That time we just had some ridiculous outside backs.
Do you reckon a guy like Matty Ridge back in the day?
No, he played fullback in that era, in the 90s.
So Tim Brasher and Mullins and that
that sort of thing. He's still good, Ridge.
Yeah. I think the problem as well with this as well, and this is what Brandy's alluding to, like, I don't think international rugby league is sustainable long-term for Australia if it's played at the end of the year like it is now without the extra incentive. So I've got a proposal for international footy. You got to remember, this is one thing and probably the fans won't like to hear this because it's a lot of money, but top-tier players are now on $1 million a season, right? We're talking about Jerome Luai, even Tom Dearden and Ezra Mam, who won't play for Australia. They're going to be offered, I think, a floor of $1 million to play for other clubs, not their own.
Yep.
Whereas, during your time, and they're getting $3,000 per match to play for Australia, which is good because they're trying to, I guess what they're trying to do is they're trying to filter out and add more incentive to play for your home country of heritage like Tonga, Samoa and all that. But just say back in your day, mates, the top tier players would have been on $500,000
max,
and then they would be getting $30,000 per match. So you could get 25 to 30% of your salary for a season by playing at the end of the year and playing 4 to 5 games.
Just say the 2000, like our era, we were getting paid, I think, 12.5, 15 a test.
Yep.
I think it went crazy in the 2010s. The amount of money it was going up. I think it got to about 30. But yeah, we would still play about maybe 5 or 6 a game. So it's still like you get something at the end of the year, right?
Yep.
So I know what you're getting at. And it's like, well, I'm not sure the mindset right now.
Well, there's got to be there's got to be some incentive financially if it's not for the rivalry where they've been like this result will definitely help it because now I think on this occasion when the Kiwis have probably beaten Australia before, it's been like, oh yeah, they got a couple of, you would have thought Kiwis played their absolute best to beat the Aussies. The Aussies had a bad day. I don't think it was not on this occasion. No. I think New Zealand were just better because they're better.
We got beaten 0-5 against New Zealand. They were better than us.
Yeah.
Clearly can say
on the
that
day?
now.
Or they had a better team?
Decent, 3, 4, 5, 6, those challenges. Like we just had class at the end of it, like with Lockyer and GI and all these sort of like magnificent moments that they've had. but we never blew them out.
Yeah.
They had us there. We had a few injuries, but there was no excuse. Ruben Wiki, all those blokes, man, just fucking came and bashed us.
I honestly think there's
Right
a
now,
genuine
I don't
conversation.
think this is a fluke.
Yeah, I think
ain't
I think there's an argument that Kiwis are, if not 50-50 at best, I think they're slightly better across the board, especially if we get...
because they played in the semi-final. On the other side, it would have been a fucking World Cup final. Come on, man. Would have been against Samoa.
Yeah, for sure. And that game went down to the wire.
It could have been anything.
Right? Yeah.
It could have been anything. And that other game was fucking few little moments in it. It's always a couple of moments now. A couple of moments. There was about 20 moments, but in this one.
Yeah.
Of dominance.
It was dominant, wasn't it? It was clinical.
No mistakes. Everyone played outstanding. The key players played outstanding.
12-10 errors in favour of the Kiwis, so that's not crazy. Only 2 more errors for Australia. The penalty count, 5 each.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Like,
there's nothing. New Zealand wasn't dominating anything else but the field.
Exactly. Possession, the way that meters, just they gained more meters, they ran harder, they made better decisions when they stripped them on the edges, and they made the crucial passes when it mattered.
Do you think elite games like Origin, when it's so even, and Test football now, it's just you can be off a little bit, and you get blown out.
Yeah,
if you don't stop the bleeding at 12-0, 18-0. Psychologically, you can fucking get dusted into like the 30s or 40s.
Like
easily
Origin 2?
now.
Origin 2, yeah.
You can't stop the bleeding, and the other team does not let up. That fucking New Zealand juggernaut did not let up for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
They weren't. As soon as it got to 18, they're like, fucking game over.
It was a real statement, wasn't it?
Gone are the days where 18-0 Australia thinking they can still come back. Impossible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Impossible.
You're right.
Not at that level.
Well, yeah, when you're watching it, it was like... If you look back to years past, and that's probably because there was like 3 or 4 immortals playing during your time during that period, where there would be like a calming influence.
Cam Smith,
when I was watching
Andrew Johns, JT, the guys that I'd play with, like I was never fucking stressed in a test.
Yeah,
I'm like, I got to take care of this New Zealand pack or England or something like that. If we win the battle in the middle, we win the game. Yeah. That's simple rules. Simple rules when you wear that jersey. Now it's it's totally different.
In this on the weekend when I was watching it back. It's harder when you're watching it back and you know the result because then I start looking at body language. But. Yeah, when you're looking at body language, you start to go, it's going to be 30-0. So
you sort of expect it.
Does that impact the way that you view the game? But when I was looking, I was going, they don't believe they can come back. No, like as the more the game's going on, the more they're getting frustrated. Where just say when I would watch games for the Kiwis versus Australia, I remember there was a game that we played really well on an Anzac Test. And we might have got off to a bit of a lead and we started really well. And then I looked over and it was like Cam Smith, Cooper Cronk, fucking Jonathan Thurston. I'm like, fuck, they're going to come back. They're going to get us. You know what I mean? Like when I was watching that game and I was looking at the body language of the teams, I was like, they never believed that they could come back. That's how dominant the Kiwis were.
And who do you put? Just say there'll be a couple of guys in that green and gold jersey who never played for Australia again. Don't think so. Or they're a bit older, everything like that. Even the younger guys that they've been fitting in, I don't think they're going to do the job. Might be out for a couple of years.
Yeah.
What could that, who do you bring in? We don't have, it's not like JT's sitting on the sideline.
Well, the big names.
Joey,
the big names. The biggest name's Nath. So Nath didn't play. He'll be back. The names, I don't think you can count on these 2 names anymore.
No.
Like we've been saying this for 2 years, right?
It's just Nathan Cleary. That's all you're bringing into that team.
Trell and Tommy have been able to show in the last couple of years. I love them as players. And if they do get back, it's probably a completely different result. They tilt it. Not in like probably if I said this 2 or 3 years ago, the way that Turbo and Latrell were ascending 2 or 3 years ago, specifically that Origin series, I would have said, it's going to be hard to beat Australia, man. But because they've had these limited in injuries now and they haven't played consistent footy at club level or Origin level or international level.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you bring back Nathan Cleary. That's it, into this whole side. I think you might have Brandon Smith, maybe.
Yep. Cheese and Jeremy Marshall-King would probably come back in for the Kiwis.
Yep. So I'm saying, what's the difference next time we play? It's a mental thing.
Roger Tuivasa-Sheck could be on the wing. Centres. Pardon, Lukey? Kalen, that's a big change. I think good one from Lukey. I think again, Kalen or Reece Walsh should have been the fullbacks. I said it before it started, and now when we look back on it, the results are done. I think there will be a change in the guard. I think there's one player. I think Teddy might have played his last series for Australia. I think Dylan Edwards definitely won't play because if he's not going to play fullback, then he shouldn't be playing. I think that was clear to see. Val's probably getting the end of his run for Origin and club for international footy. Tony Staggs, with him depends on what Stephen Crichton, Tommy Turbo, Latrell. There were a lot of people that were out for Australia. There were a lot of people without, but when they are out, this is the fashion that you want to see the Kiwis beat them.
Yeah.
Right? If there are excuses, because there are enough excuses for Australia,
Yeah, I don't think so. Because I looked at that team the whole time. Like, that is a fucking amazing team.
Yeah.
We went through the forward pack: Payne Haas, Tino, Ben Hunt, Liam Martin, fucking
Cam Murray,
and
Isaiah Yeo.
It's one of
Paddy
the best
Carrigan
packs
on the
we've
bench.
it's one of the best packs we've formed in the last. There's no excuse there.
Yeah.
DCU's played bloody 20-something tests. Munster's been around, played 15, 20 tests. I don't know. They're all guns, man.
Yeah.
Just the balance of the teams. You've got to get that back five right. Got to get it right.
Yeah, that was the difference.
You just bring Nathan Cleary back and everything's fucking fixed. Yeah. Is that good?
Well, I don't know.
Who knows?
Well,
man?
Here's a question for you. So Nace misses this, so it's hard to judge, but there's been question marks on Nath at Origin level before. He's obviously grand final gun. That performance will put him in the conversation for the elite halfbacks of all time. Yeah. But we're still waiting for him to have a really specific impact on Origin like we have with Joey in particular, who had that crazy series. But for every Penrith performance, he's had Leota and James Fisher-Harris. Yeah. And he doesn't have them at New South Wales level, and he hasn't had them at Australia.
He's still got Payne Haas. And Tino. And
Not bad.
He's got some decent, mate. I think he's going to go, I've got Junior Paulo and all these other young big bastards, There's no excuse for Nath.
All right, Mace, let's get on to it with the Kummels versus the Butty. The Kummels defeated, got revenge on the Butty 32-12.
That's madness.
I thought the Kummels deserved to be favourites, and this is why, because the Kummels were favourites before they got beaten by the Butty the week before. A player that I love, he's been at the Lee Leopards now for a couple of years with Lockie Lamb and Adrian Lamb, is the hooker Edwin and Pape. I think he's really NRL quality, and I believe that the Dragons have been inquiring about him for a while too. So I think he goes good. I know that we were talking about this as well. That Lachlan Lamb
could he come back? Could he do a job?
I think he's ready to come back.
Let's not get carried away. You're carving Fiji up, right?
Yep.
Different week in, week out.
I think Lachlan Lamb's the perfect example of your Blake Greens, your Jackson Hastings, your playmakers that go over there. They have a couple of years, they build the confidence up, and they come back and they could be. They're not going to be.
There's no pressure, but when you're over there, I get it, which is good because when they're here, he's fucking Adrian Lamb's son, right?
Yeah.
I've known the kid since he was 5 years old. Pressure the whole way.
Adrian Lamb would have been your assistant coach at the Roosters.
He's a champ. I love Adrian Lamb. Love him. He was underneath him the whole time. I'm like, the best thing he has done is gone over there and killed it.
Yeah.
Because now it's like there's no pressure, right? Over there, it's not week in, week out. Now he's just getting used to running a team. No one looks at him like he's Lockie Lamb saying, you're only here because of that reason. No, now you've earned everything.
Speaking of no pressure, Lee Leopards come from championship level up to
fucking mad.
Super League. So they not only had no pressure because of he's got away from his old boy. Like his old boy coached him over there. But he would have had some good times over there. And
Is he 24 now, maybe?
Yeah, I'll look into that actually.
But I reckon he could do a job over here easily.
Yeah.
Because the talent skill is there.
I reckon he's got I wouldn't, if he's only 25, I wouldn't be bringing Lachlan Lamb back to be the answer for the positions that we were talking about previously, like the clubs that are looking for Jerome Luais and Tom Dearden's. Yeah. I think he's got to come back as a nice luxury piece. So whether he comes back you need a team that's travelling well. Like, for example, if Penrith, Cowboys or Broncos were to lose Mam, Dearden or Luai, he would be I think he'd be the perfect plug and play back into those systems. Like that's where you play a guy like Lachlan Lamb, where he comes back. The team's already
he's not
set.
going to be the man.
You don't have to pay him a crazy amount of money, but he can still do a job and be a really solid second fiddle, like Greeny was. Like when Blake Green came back, he went back to Melbourne, Manly, and then you just keep developing into if you can control a team like Jackson Hastings now doing it at the Knights. I tell you who else I like is speaking of the Cowboys. We're talking about the Cowboys before. That left edge, the young players, Robert Darby, he only played the one game, and Zach Labert.
He's good. They're good.
They're nice players, man. I think the Cowboys have got Viliami Vailea coming up because they're losing Petahiku. Petahiku moves on. Yep, he's gone over to the UK, and I like the look of Labert and Derby. That Zach Labert's just got a nice little bit of silk about him.
Yeah, he's got something, hasn't he? He only played, 5-6 games, maybe?
Yeah, he would have played about 4 or 5 games for sure. He's got a nice little flick pass, solid defender.
Yeah.
I think.
I watched him by the end of the year. I was like, then when they made that little bit of a run, I was like, okay, this kid's nice.
I think
a good system.
I wonder what the conversations were. He looks like an out and out left centre.
Yeah.
So then whether you move Val over to the right or Vailea gets first crack, but
Val can play anywhere, man.
Yeah, for sure. For the Batty, I think Tui needs some help in the forwards. Tui Kamikamica, feel like he just does everything for him. And a player that I want to highlight, I watched him play against, it was Kummel's last year actually, Tane Milne.
Yeah.
I think Tane Milne should make a full transition to the middles now.
Yeah, get in the back row.
Yeah. He had 18 carries for 130 metres, 50 post contact, but he also had 6 misses for a middle. So that's just...
Was he playing lock?
He's playing lock, yeah. So
probably just a little bit of like...
You just need to get an engine, right?
Yeah.
So it'll take
maybe
about 6 months.
falling off a few little tackles, It wasn't like if he's missing proper reads, closing in from the 3-man and letting these like line breaks around him. It wasn't. It was just tacky around, like not tacky, just not detailed.
Yeah.
Right?
I think he could really carve out who's a little nuggety lock that like he'd almost like a guy that played at South. And I know he played front row, but like Harmasele, when Harmasele gets through a shitload of work.
Play back row, you reckon?
He could probably play edge back row. Well,
he's fucking fast and strong.
With Jack Whiten coming there next year, if Jack Whiten plays left centre and then they have to move Tass,
it's gonna be interesting, man.
I think they need to find a solution for that left edge back row at South too. So
they just re-signed Jai Arrow as well.
Yeah, Jai Arrow. So it'll probably be Jai Arrow or Cam Murray, but we'll see what happens. As for the Poms, they defeated the Turcos 26-4 and clean sweeped them 3-0 series. I want to give another massive shout out. I've talked about him a few times before. Just to see my mate Tommy Johnston playing so well on the wing for the Poms. He came off horrific in 2018 and 19 when I was playing for Wakefield. He was a player of so much promise, and that all these NRL clubs are looking for him. And then he did his ACL and twice in the span of about 24 months. Right. He's playing at the Catalan Dragons, went to the grand final, and now he's playing for England. 200 metres. He's like another. He's
fucking strong.
He's another Dom Young. He could come over here and have a Dom Young like impact for sure. But
how old is he?
He'd be like 27 now, 26, 27. So he might have just missed his run, but he's still killing it at Catalan Dragons. Bateman. He was unreal. He's at his niggly best again.
Whitehead.
And also a massive congrats to Elliot Whitehead, who retired from international footy. As for the Turcos, changing to the guard for the boys. Connie, that's Conrad Hurrell's last game. As well with Hopper and Lolohea. Yeah. I think those boys are getting to the end of their run for Tonga, and they've been great servants for Tonga, particularly during that period when, they would have been renowned as top tier players. Like Connie probably would have made the Kiwis throughout that time during that period when he made the switch to Tonga.
Yeah.
Hopper was in and around the Australian team during that period as well, so he made a decision, New South Wales. And Lolohea has been he's sort of been the linchpin for that Tongan team for a long time,
especially in the halves too. He play anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, but if they're all right, if Tonga are a genuine threat, and what they need to do is someone at Tongan Rugby League needs to set up a pathway system, and they really need to develop the players like Isaiah Katoa and Latu Fainu, and like they needed to be developed outside of NRL.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like they need to have some sort of development camps like New South Wales and Australia do, where they get together and they and they develop, especially the younger Tongan players, because there's so much talent.
It's hard because
coming.
those kids are in those pathways already, in the New South Wales pathways.
Yeah.
Most of the good young Tongan kids, Samoan kids, all like
Yeah.
that. I'm not sure if they can do an internationals pathway or Pacific pathways. I don't know.
I think it's got to be
both.
specific, like to Tonga and Samoa, if they want to develop these young playmakers to not only choose playing for Tonga and choose playing for Samoa over New South Wales, but making sure that they're learning how to be game managers. Because you know what it's like, mates. When you grow up, like you're an elite player, but you just grew up fucking running over everyone probably, and you're bigger than everyone and stronger than everyone. Same as some of these kids. Like I didn't watch these guys growing up, but I played out in Western Sydney, and our best players were the Islander boys that were just bigger and stronger. And some of them, because of that, just never really developed their passing game, specifically through the halves. So that's why what Penrith have done over the last 5 years has been great, because a lot of these players now are coming out, like your Stephen Crichtons, your Jerome Luais, and they're not relying on strength and brutality to win. Their skill set is high. So I think there needs to be something like that done for some of these Tongan and Samoan players for sure.
Yep.
All right, here it is, my proposal for international footy. Here's a way I think we increase the popularity, because outside of at the end of the year, I think everyone's just a bit worn down. So you need to have. My proposal would be to play a World Cup and an international cup every second year. So at the end of the year, the players also get to enjoy themselves and have a break some years, right? Because the load that they've got through, specifically the Australian team, through doing Origin and then doing international at the end of the year, they just can't keep it up year to year. I think you'll see player burnout from our elite players. So what you do is a World Cup in 2022, have a break in 2023 at the end of the season, no footy, 2024 International Cup. So then that way you actually look forward to international footy. Like I think when sometimes when it's year to year,
it gets forced on you.
It gets forced and it loses its appeal. But when you have a break from it, it might be more enticing for the fans to go, oh, it's back on this year. And then the way you do the International Cup is you split it into 2 tiers, like a 4 nations, 4 teams. So each tier is determined by the previous World Cup rankings. So if we were to base it off last World Cup, you would have Australia, Samoa, New Zealand and England in tier 1. In tier 2, you'd have Tonga, Fiji, PNG and Lebanon, right? Every team only plays each other once. There's no finals. It'd be like a Premier League system, right? Yeah. But the way you do it is to make it like there would be a finals is, for instance, you play the top 2 tier teams ranked 1 and 2, you play them last. So because of the World Cup, sort of threw it out a little bit, Samoa making the World Cup. But realistically, you think if the rankings were true, it would be New Zealand 1 based off this Pacific Cup, Australia 2, Samoa 3, and England 4.
Yeah, right.
So you'd make sure that 1 and 2 play each other at the end of the year, at the end of the series. And that could almost be like a final without having a dead rubber, like last week was, to go into the final. And during the year, I really think they have to look at a mid-season break when Origin's on. And then during that, that's when you can build the rivalry, because rivalry is important for any series like they have at Origin. So play Origin, have 5 weeks off, 1 week off before you start, 3 weeks for Origin. And why Origin's being played, you play the 2 teams that are tier 1 that can't play in Origin, which is New Zealand and England.
So you start the International Cup during that rep round?
No. This is where you get your taste of international footy every single year. So you play New Zealand versus England. Why Origin's on? Because they're tier 1.
Yeah,
so
that's
New Zealand,
you get someone playing.
New Zealand and England can't play in Origin anyway. So you put them 2 against each other. The one that makes the most sense is Tonga versus Samoa during that period as 100%. Well. That way you get genuine decisions of whether players want to represent Tonga or Samoa, and you've got to clarify that at the start of the year as well. And then you can do the PNG versus Fiji, Lebanon versus France. All those series can be home and away series. So 1 year, it's all 3 games in New Zealand for England. And then the next year, it's all 3 games in England. and vice versa for Tonga and Samoa.
Yeah, man.
I think that's the way you can,
It's just
because it needs a little bit of work.
yeah.
Because at the moment, like, there's a lot of pride in representing your jersey, like if you're representing New Zealand or Australia, but
It's perfect that rep round, but the 5 weeks off with everyone. And
5
you
weeks
make
off.
a decision you play for England, all those other teams or New South Wales, just to keep the international game alive.
keep it alive
the whole time.
and keep the teams as per, because then that's how you build the
Keep 'em
rivalry.
busy.
Yes. I think that'd be, and you could almost go Origin Wednesday, New Zealand versus England on Friday, or the women's Origin on Thursday night, New Zealand versus England on Friday night, Tonga versus Samoa on Saturday night, PNG versus
goes on
Fiji
for
on
5
Sunday
weeks.
night. So you've got all the broadcasters are happy because you've
it's
got
mad.
consistent footy for those 5 nights.
And even have
then
all
the
the
crowds.
junior, even the under-20s play.
Yep.
Everyone gets represented. So even though we're saying have 5 weeks off, you ain't going to get much of a week. You're not going to get that much of a rest. If you really want to be a part of it, you're going to be in New South Wales, you're in one of the Islander sides.
Yep.
New Zealand or England.
Yep.
If you're not, just rest up.
We train.
Just rest up and just do a heap of fitness.
It's a little mini in season, pre-season for the
break,
boys.
right?
Yeah, have a week off for the boys at the start of the week. Come back and train hard for 3 weeks. Some of those guys, and another little one actually that I forgot to throw to you. It could be the perfect little 5-week period for a genuine transfer fee. So transfer portal. So during that period, if there are some changes to be made, if there are some players that aren't a part of the top 30 or just on the tier of the top 30 aren't getting consistent footy, they obviously probably wouldn't be playing rep footy.
Get a good gauge on the year.
So you could do a little player swap transfer window.
You could think, imagine just coming up with an idea like that and going, give it to the NRL, and they go, like, it's a genuine idea. Like, look at it. Do they not have these think bubbles and shit?
Well, the hardest part,
go through this sort of stuff. I'm looking at that going, you could actually do that.
Makes
if
a
you
bit of
thought
sense.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, do they care that much?
we'll see.
Do they care about player burnout, or do they just care about the product?
If they cared about player burnout, they'd really take this on board and make sure that there's quality put into the international game and not just quantity at the end of the year to tick that box.
That's what fucks it up. So you have 5 weeks off. How many weeks do you play onwards? See? That's what they care about.
Yeah.
Because they want 27 games to pay for all these fucking...
Yeah, so
Still have 27 games?
So, no, you'd have to take a couple of games off.
That's where it gets you.
But you'd still got an extra... It'd still make up the 5 weeks of
I agree.
end of
But
the
I'm saying
season
they
that
just
you'd be
go
playing at the end
hell-bent
of the year.
on, we've got to play 27 games because of the broadcasting deals.
Yeah.
Your games and get more eyeballs.
It would easily. That idea is way better.
Yeah.
The idea there is way better than the structure they've got now. Imagine if you said that to some of the elite players and you play 22 games.
Yeah. There'd be more.
Fucking hell, mate.
That'd be wanted to get involved in the mid part of the
You
season,
would be wanting to play.
rather than staying at training and doing another
Yes,
preseason by training your ass off.
Yeah, mate,
You know?
I'm telling you.
All right, well that's my proposal.
That's
OG,
all right. Like
thanks
it.
for the year.
Thank you, mate.
Lukey, thanks for the year. Thanks to everyone for
Thank you,
levels for
guys.
listening to us. We'll have a little break. We'll see you in the new year. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. All of that. Nice and early. See you next year.